Did you know that the world is complaining that Israel is bombing Gaza because it wants to commit genocide? Yes, listen to this. 66% of the answers of the respondents to the survey conducted by Professor Gad Saad answered that Israel is bombing Gaza today because it has a lust for genocide. They mean that there is a cultural element in Israel that motivates it to murder Palestinians and take their land. Only a third of the respondents answered that the bombing of Gaza is a response to the massacre that Hamas carried out in Israel on October 7. The survey had over 40,000 respondents initially. By the end it reached 100,000 respondents. And this is the accepted opinion. This is the consensus. This is what the majority thinks, that Israel is a bloodthirsty country. It aims to kill all Palestinians and take their land. And you know what? There is no greater folly than that. I will now explain why there is no greater folly than that, and towards the end I will also offer new words to describe history through the prism I will offer you. You probably have not heard this thesis before. It is new, it is original, and it is factual. I will begin by distinguishing between the three monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, and explain why there is no tendency in Judaism and in Israel as a result to impose the Jewish religion on the entire world. The other religions go to religious wars to proselytize others. If anything, then, it is those religions where you will find tendencies toward conquests and genocide. On the contrary, Judaism and Israel are mainly preoccupied with defending themselves. They play defense, not offense. Just a note, Gad Saad is a Canadian Jewish academic and a refugee from Lebanon. He speaks Arabic and knows the culture well and has over 700,000 followers on Twitter. He tweets and tweets all day in defense of the Jews, and most of what he gets back is hatred, deep hatred of Jews, annihilating hatred of Jews. Look, many in Israel are trapped by the same view that sees Israel as an imperialist colonial project. This is because many here in Israel adopt academic and political worldviews from afar. Scholars in many leading universities abroad say that Israel is a colonial, militaristic, and imperialist country, that Israel wants to expel the Palestinians, that the occupation is the driving motive, the axis mundi around which the entire Israeli society revolves. They say that without understanding Israel's aggression and its desire for the Palestinian territories, it is impossible to understand the conflict. And they imbue those seemingly factual arguments with moral judgments and say that Israel is to blame and that the victims of the massacre of the 7th of October are guilty of their death. They brought it on themselves, they say. Did they really? Those who share the view that Israel is a colonial, militaristic, and imperialist country evince a very deep misunderstanding of the Jewish civilization. In this talk, I would like to correct their misunderstanding. Do not see me as part of the Israeli propaganda machine, not that I care much, but I, in my own way, I offer you a cultural analysis of the desire for control, the desire for expansion, for conquest. And I argue that we Jews do not have that desire, because the story of Israel is a story of defense and closure, not of conquest and expansion. Whoever says that is truly anti-Semitic, even if such views are expounded as a theoretical perspective, but unconsciously they are anti-Semitic. Listen to the following story. When Samuel Huntington published his book, The Clash of Civilizations, Israel and Judaism received but a footnote in this book. The clash will be between Islam and the West, he said. Israel, forget it. Israel is not important. Judaism is not relevant for conflict. It does not have the pervasive aggression of other civilizations. What an accurate distinction that was, even if it was seen as an insulting historical understatement by some commentator. But in response, the great Israeli sociologist Shmuel Noach Eisenstein expert, attempted to correct this position and in response wrote his book, Jewish Civilization, which he published in 2003, a decade after the insulting footnote that Huntington singled out for Judaism in his book, The Clash of Civilizations. Well, all the best to Shmuel Noach, but as mentioned, Huntington was right. Jewish civilization has no place in the Book of Conflicts because Judaism has no cultural motive of aggression, conquest, and conversions. The Jews did not embark on an aggressive war against anyone else. They defend themselves, yes. And is the price of self-defense likely to be difficult for its rivals? Yes. But will Israel strive to destroy other nations? Will it take their land because it wants to expand west or east? No. Therefore it has no importance, Judaism, as Huntington said, and rightly so. That is why he dedicated only a footnote to Judaism in the Book of Global Bloodletting. So why do I claim that Israel does not want to colonize more of Palestine? Why do I say that it does not seek to conquer and destroy the Palestinian people? Follow this story, strange though it might be to begin a story from the Strachov Monastery near Prague Castle. But it was there that I understood who we are and what Jewish and Israeli civilization is. Those were the days of the civil war in Syria. Syria was destroyed. Its army was depleted. The Syrian people exiled everywhere. It was therefore an opportunity to expand Israel's security areas in the Golan Heights. But no Israeli leader brought this up, not only in words but also in thought. I'm quite sure that the chief of staff of the IDF did not aspire to sit beyond Quneitra and tell the Syrians to farther distance them away from Israel. Well, it was those days of the Syrian civil war, and I was sitting on the slopes of the Strachov Monastery and reading about the Swedish army that captured Prague in the 16th century. The Blondes marched all the ways from Swedenland to Czechia-land and came back with a huge booty, the Satan's Bible. If you want to see it, you will have to go to Stockholm, not Prague. Anyway, the story is about a book copyist who in one night copied all the New Testament. And since there is no way that an ordinary mortal could do that, there was no doubt that the one who did copy the book is actually the devil himself. And the Swedes, they wanted the book to complete what was missing in the library of Stockholm. I was not interested in the book. I was interested in the journey from Swedenland to Czechia-land, walking through the mud and rain with the smell of the horses and that. What motivation drove them to such far places, and why, if you're already sitting under the monastery, why did the Crusaders walk from England, France and Germany up to Jerusalem? What the hell were they looking for? Stick a note on the Western Wall? And why did the Prophet Muhammad, who normally lived in Saudi Arabia, why did he have to ascend to heaven specifically from Jerusalem? Why did everyone decide to push themselves into the Jewish story? And why did everyone send armies, militaries, not only to conquer Jerusalem, but to conquer Prague and Spain and Vienna and Africa and America and East Asia? Why are religions so violent? Why is it easy for a religious entrepreneur to spin some unknown text, Christianity or Islam, and rally an army of conquests around him? And why is our religion, Judaism, different so much? I do not know about Hinduism and Confucianism, but unlike Judaism, Christianity and Islam have end states. There is a desired final state. There is a final solution for both sinners and Jews. Jesus said that at the end of days the whole world will be Christian. The fisherman, which is him, will swing his net and catch all fish in the world. All will be enclosed within the web of Christianity. And so did Muhammad. The house of Islam will eliminate the house of war, kill all the infidels, and in the end only Muslims will remain in this world. Yes, the two civilizations that came out of Judaism and adopted parts of its concepts, developed a dimension that Judaism did not have then and does not have today. They created the practice of conversion of others and killing of the infidels. And now Judaism does not have such a desire to rule the entire world. It has no ambition to Judaize the world. Look, Christianity and Islam are inclusive religions. Marhaba, thank you. Come join us. Do a small ceremony and join us. But Judaism? No matter how much you want to convert your religion to Judaism and even agree to cut your bulbul a little, the rabbis and the state of Israel will tell you, no, thank you, because Judaism is exclusive in the sense that it does not want to absorb those who have not been counted among the tribes of Israel since the days of the Bible, the original Bible. Look at how many difficulties Israel piles up for those entering the country. Let's say foreign professors who wish to apply for a job in Israeli academia. They will get a tourist visa for 6 months and then out. And let's say someone falls in love with an Israeli woman or vice versa, and they want to get married and to do some mutzi-mutzi. It is not easy to do mutzi-mutzi in Israel, if you are not Jewish, I mean. You have to convert, but we do not want you to convert. Go away! Even when there are those who facilitate the procedure in favor of mutzi-mutzi, the procedure remains horribly difficult compared to the ease with which one can join Christianity or Islam. Yes, Judaism is a religion that closes inwards. It is defensive. It maintains the purity of blood. So while Christianity and Islam are inclusive, open, embracing, expanding, conquering religions, Judaism is exclusive. It avoids, defends, inwards, shuts down and closes off. A good friend once drew my attention to a symbolic aspect of this cultural predisposition. There is no other place than Jerusalem to demonstrate this cultural predisposition. Early in the morning and several more times a day, you hear the calls of the muazzin throughout the city, and you know that the world is here. And in the middle of the day, you can hear the church bells. Yes, Islam is calling with its loud voice in Jerusalem, and Christianity is calling its believers in Jerusalem. Everybody hears that. The Muslims with loudspeakers, Christians with majestic bells. But then you open your ears and ask for the voice of Judaism, for the noise. Because there are several prayers a day. There is Shachari, there is Mincha, there is Ma'ariv. So surely there is a means of announcing or calling the Jews to pray. Isn't there? No, not even a pager. Judaism calls its believers silently, quietly. They would whisper that if you want, there is a minyan today. And if we do not have 10 people, we will signal you. Come on, join us. Make for us. I mean, we need 10 men. Now, unlike Islam and Christianity, Judaism does not have its voice in the public sphere. Even within Me'ah She'arim, Judaism is silent. Jews do their Jewish movements in closed rooms, in synagogues and yeshivas, closed, secluded, exclusive. No one will hear, so no one will come, no one will find us. Thank you, but no thank you. We are defending ourselves. And this cultural predisposition has political and security implications. Israel, like Judaism, defends itself. Early Zionism started with the organization of the guard, HaShomer, not the attacker, and continued with the defense, Ha'agana, not the attacker. Then, after the establishment of the State of Israel, the IDF was established not as the army of attack of Israel, but as the Israel Defense Army. Defense. From the beginning of Zionism to the present, with the exception of minor deviations of religious Zionism and the young settlers, the Israeli concept of security seeks neither to occupy territories nor to bring home the menorah from Rome, or those who were robbed on Kristallnacht from the synagogues in Germany and are placed in churches across Germany. No, the Israeli concept is of a wall and a tower, defending in an existing area. We play defense. defense, defense, defense. And even when Israel conquered the Sinai or southern Lebanon in past wars, it was not done out of a desire for Jewish conquest, but out of a motive of post-traumatic defensiveness. Yes, sometimes defense requires keeping the enemy away from your border. Ariel Sharon thought that 40 kilometers were needed inside Lebanon. In the twilight of his life, he thought that a high and continuous wall would be enough to separate the state of Israel from the state of would-be Palestine. But even when he thought about Lebanon, he did not think about building an Israeli empire on its territory. Israeli soldiers walked around Beirut, but felt there as temporary tourists, not as those who were expanding their homes. And what will happen in Gaza in the day after the war? In a deep sense, then, the state of Israel is a Jewish state. The motives driving its perception of security are derived from the concept of exclusivity of the Jewish religion. It builds on the concept of self-defense of Judaism. Therefore, when it is said about Israel that it is a colonial or imperial and militaristic country, those statements and descriptors miss its cultural essence, namely defensiveness and withdrawal. In 1947, the world decided to give the Jewish people territory in the land of Israel, the land that was their historical homeland. And since then, the Arabs rose up against Israel and the Jewish people living in Israel, who found themselves on the defensive. Israel defended itself in 1948 when the first war of extermination started from Cairo, Damascus, and Amman. So, following the success in defending its territory and its inhabitants, Israel found itself with additional territories. This was the price of the first war of extermination against Israel. Then, in 1967, when the Arab armies once again called for a war of annihilation, Israel went ahead with a preemptive strike which again expanded the country's territories. And when again the Arab armies went to war of annihilation against Israel in 1973, the war again ended with Israel holding more territory than it had before the war. Good luck. That is what the Chinese students told me. What do the Arabs want? They lost the war, so they lost the land. That is the price of aggression, they said to me. For the Chinese students, this is obvious. But here is the crux of the argument. Israel's territories expanded in wars not because it sought to expand, not because Zionism had some internal religious or cultural motive that pushed it to expand. Rather, expansion was the result of defending against destructive attacks by the Arab world against Jews and the land of Israel. Arab countries attacked to destroy Israel and its Jewish inhabitants, and Israel expanded because it successfully defended itself against Arab countries' attempt to exterminate it. Could Israel have expanded its borders even further? For sure. Could it have taken advantage of Syria's weakness and nationalized some more of the Golan Heights? Probably so. And could Israel not withdraw from Lebanon and fortify the 40-kilometer border as their new northern border? Militarily, it probably could. But Israel decided to return to its limited border not because of international pressure. It returned to Metula because the Israeli public want to sit in their small country. It wanted to return home, which this is how the public saw its natural border, Metula. Therefore, Israel did not invade the Golan Heights and annex additional territories. It never came into our minds. So take this to heart. Israel is built on a religious tradition that is different from the tradition of expansion, proselytizing, and conquering tendencies that are rooted in the theology of Christianity and Islam. Israel does not go on crusades. It does not send its military to fight in Vietnam or Iraq. It defends itself within its borders. The Jewish religion does not seek, as Christianity and Islam seek, to convert the religion of members of other religions or to exterminate them. Leave us alone, Judaism said. Leave us alone. And so Israel says. If they make peace with Israel, you will not find it aggressive. But if you ask to annihilate it because of your religion and your beliefs, do not be surprised if its war of self-defense, with its defense military, well, do not be surprised if this war will overwhelm you for decades to come. But remember, Israel is not calling for battle. It makes war with understanding that if it does not defend itself with strength, it will not exist at all. That is why Israel is playing defense, pressing defense. By the end of the day, Gad Saad updated the figures with close to 100,000 respondents. Now only 55% think the Jews are genocidal. But everyone who voted in Gad Saad's poll, together with the 55% who think that Israel is bombing Gaza because it has a destructive genocidal tendency. Guys, how ignorant can you be? If you want further education on this topic, please click the following class, the following link, on the failure of the humanities in raising red flags about the impending future catastrophe in Israel. I am Professor Gad Yair.